Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Profit Project interview series, where today we're talking about all things generating growth in business. And today I'm extremely excited to have on the call with me Prosper Taruvinga from Livelong Digital. Great to have you on the call today, Prosper.
Fantastic, Craig. Thank you so much for your platform and having me on your show today.
Yeah, and we've been connected for a while. You reached out to me and a few years ago now, and that's how we got connected. And we had a similar chat when I jumped on one of your shows. And, we've been on and off contact since then. And, since that point as well, we've ended up with a shared client as well. And so, I love the way you operate and love the energy and life you bring to business and have fun while doing it as well. But I also like to start these chats by getting a little bit of a picture of, how did you end up doing what you do and how you started your business? What was that little bit of a journey to get there and why did you do it?
Absolutely. It's level of love, so to speak. It's not what it looks like or what I thought it would look like, but I've been in Australia 9 years now. Okay, and I come from a country called Zimbabwe that's in Africa. So basically, the thing that prompted me to move to Australia was because Zimbabwe, I don't know if you know anything about the inflation, you would literally take a wheelbarrow full of money and you still can't even afford to buy a loaf of bread. So that being the case, it obviously did not open up any prospect, or it did not give me any chance to create what I think I've created now. So I moved to Australia. And when I arrived in Australia, I knew no one. And all I had with me was a backpack full of hopes and dreams. Okay, I'd been told that Australia is the land down under. So here we are, let's get started. So my first job was to work in a restaurant, obviously, because I was trying to get on my feet as quickly as possible. Now, the fact that I did not know anyone bothered me because I'm a very social person, and after work everybody just goes back home, and you can't connect with anyone if they don't know who you are or where you come from or stuff like that. So I went on and created a Facebook page for the restaurant that I was working on in the hopes of having everyone that works there connect, and then I would know who they are and what they do and use that as a way to connect with my workmates. But little did I know that I had started the biggest problem that soon changed the course of my life. All right. The owner of the restaurant had tried going on the internet before, and all he got was bad reviews. And he hated anything to do with the internet. So when he heard that somebody had created a Facebook page against his own will, that did not sit well with him. Craig, I think when you go or you've watched TV series, especially American TV series, where there's the door that separates the kitchen and the restaurant, and it's always like a swinging door. So we had one of those. The day he walked through that door, I think that the swinging door did 360 turns, and I'm still surprised it's still hanging on to its hinges. So he came in full, so angry. Who did this? He knew it was me, but he didn't want to confront me. But he was just like, who did this? I don't want to see this. Delete it. Everyone, would stop whatever you're doing. Get me off the internet. I did not sign up to this. I'm like, oh, snap. I hope I'm not going to get fired. And it was on a Friday night, so it was so busy in the restaurant. So everybody just started looking at me now as if I had done the worst thing ever. So I was off work the Saturday and the Sunday. And for some weird reason, people came to the shop on Saturday. I think it was on a Sunday, and they left a really good review on the Facebook page, right? They looked up the page and then they left a review. And all of a sudden, they no longer needed. All of a sudden, my boss realized, wait a minute, there could be clout in this, all right? So when I was working doing the dishes, we don't open on Monday. When I was working doing the dishes on Tuesday, it's like, stop whatever you're doing, come upstairs. You have to clean up what you did. So I went up and then he's like, write properly my name there, write everything about the business. And I'm like, oh, I thought we're deleting this. He's like, no, you start looking after the internet now. So naturally, in retrospect, I would have thought, oh, I've done the worst thing. But that planted the seed of what has now become my career in Australia. So I started doing social media for this restaurant. So literally I created my own job. Back then, it was unheard of to be paid to be on Facebook. You know what I mean? So I was literally one of those pioneers. Long story short, I just wanted to make sure I'm not making any mistakes. So I really started reading, studying, and really consolidating my knowledge. I did a lot of courses. I connected with a lot of people. And now I think I've built one business that I'm proud of, which is now profitable and enjoyable, all because I did something that that almost got me fired. So there we go.
I love that story so much, an epic story, but it also goes to show of just getting out there and being of value, trying to do something, creating energy, creating momentum where it can lead. And so, that's such a powerful message as well, as far as, what you touched upon there. You can create your own job and create your own world by, doing something, and you see an opportunity, and your opportunity wasn't necessarily around business related in the initial phase, but also it was a way to be able to connect. And that ultimate connection is then obviously grown and morphed into what it became. And again, also ultimately, as your boss at the time, he actually, despite his own inner, no, I don't really want that to happen, all the rest of it, but then he was also, hey, hang on a second, there's something in this, to then go, hey, here's an opportunity here. So such an awesome, fascinating story of the start of that journey. And then I think the obvious next question is kind of around that, well, how did that evolve? How did that grow? And how did that then transform into, you starting to do this sort of, activity, online content presence, lead generation for other people? And I guess what were some of the challenges you experienced with that transition of going from, working for your employer at this time and then going out on your own and starting your own thing?
Oh, great stuff. So obviously, since this was a new position I just created for myself, he didn't know how to pay me and what sort of remuneration somebody in my capacity had. So I was still earning as much as a dishwasher, but, really running the marketing for the Facebook, for the restaurant. So naturally, what started happening is he started bragging to his friends that, I don't even have to worry about, Facebook or social media. I've got my guy, because back in that time, there were platforms like Zomato, and I think it was called Urban Spoon by then.
Yeah.
Yes, where, you needed to make sure your reviews were good, the whole, profile for that restaurant was, looking nice so that people would go in, recommend or leave a review, etc., etc. So I was doing all of that, and he was bragging to his friends that, hey, look at how good my restaurant looks online. See, this is he used to call me my Nigerian princess, but I'm from Zimbabwe. But I was taking anything that time because I didn't want to be on his wrong side, you know what I mean? So so one of his restaurant friends approached me. He owned a cafe that was in another small town, and he's like, hey, I'm not a competitor to this guy. Can you also help me, make me look good on the internet? Just do that and then forget about it. And he says, I'll pay you $200 a week. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Now I'm actually getting paid for this? So obviously my boss was my first client, and then we got this guy coming up. But in the series of trying to make this happen, it wasn't that smooth sailing. Pretty much, there became a lot of competition. There were a lot of courses that were being sold online, especially in the digital marketing space. So anyone who had a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt and a laptop could literally start calling themselves a digital marketer. So I really had to work twice as hard to get half of what I was getting. First of all, I had no alumni. A lot of people would have come in from a college, or they would have come in from a university where they can tap into their networks. I had none of that stuff. So yeah, it was all just, sending people emails and saying, hey, this is what I've done for this restaurant. I could also do it for yourself. Up until I caught up with a few guys that had a photography platform, but they didn't know how to sell it. And I was like, hey, I can use my social media skills. And they gave me shares back then. So I was now the third partner in their business. Now, the best thing about that platform is what we then turned it into. We literally, I don't want to say this, but we literally started influencer marketing before it was a thing. So we were now connecting models, the people that they were taking photos of, with people on Instagram, and saying and asking them to give them product or whatever their service in exchange for photographs. And that now became something that I got really heavily involved in, up until I even went and took a modeling course myself, because I saw how lucrative it was. Not only was the course for me to pose for photos, I think you've seen my photos now, I've spilled the beans, but it helped me with public speaking. It also put me in a different level in society, because just like any industry, there's the 1%. There's always the people at the top, and there's always that bottom layer of people that are always fighting for the jobs. And if you're known, and if you do certain things, you get known. And word started going around that I had this unique look. I had long hair, and I started just featuring in different outlets, and I started becoming the product.
Yeah.
And I started enjoying it. So the people that I met along the way, I've done work for Snap Fitness during that. I even did modeling for Maya, and all of those people, I now connect them, and some of them are now my clients. So it's just been a journey of me looking at what's available and redefining it, as in, am I able to do this? Am I able to, because I have always been the product in all of this. All right. And the more I showcase, the more I show face, the more the opportunities come by. Right now, as we speak, there's an advert, I can speak about it now, from Officeworks that is doing its rounds. And people that know me are just like, wait a minute, that's Prosper on there. You know what I mean? So it's just small things like that. It was so much fun doing that campaign. So basically what I now do, as you mentioned earlier on, is connecting people. So I connect people to tools. I connect people to their customers. I connect people to money. I just connect people to whatever it is that they want to be aligned with. And before you know it, I've created a business that's profitable and enjoyable.
Yeah, awesome. You're on such an awesome roll there. Didn't want to jump in the middle of that, because you've touched on so many awesome points, as that I think people can resonate with. Is the journey from getting awareness, getting profile, getting personal brand out there. Because the reality is, a lot of this, we're in business, but people buy people, and it's very much this idea that you come across good people that can make things happen, and the connecting part that you've talked about. It's been awesome, and that's obviously how we've stayed connected, and there's some cool stuff that can happen off the back of that and the like. But I guess I'd like to also touch upon those people that do reach out and they resonate with you, and what are the sort of usual challenges that they're coming across that they sit there and go, oh, cool, yeah, Prosper is the man. He's walking the walk. He's been there. He's done that. He's charted a path and journey, and I want to learn from that to be able to get that branding out there, get the connection, get the lead generation in their business. What do you think the sort of trigger is, that the challenge that makes them go, yeah, now's the time that I'm going to work with somebody like yourself?
Absolutely. So normally it's usually the first 2 to 3 years of business where you're thinking, I started this and I'm going to grow it. Okay. But then when push comes to shove, you start realizing that there's so much competition out there, and everybody else is doing pretty much the same thing, cheaper, better, faster. And by the time you realize, wait a minute, I thought I was just going to, gloss this over, pass it on to the next person. They will pay me enough money. I'll retire in the next 2 years. It doesn't work like that. There's just so much happening. So basically, the way we help our clients so that they avoid marketing overwhelm is we really help them hone in on the right market for their product. Who needs their product? What pain point are they actually solving? And what payoff does the customer walk away with? Now, once we've got the market down pat, we help them craft a message that goes to that market, all right? Because if people are maybe waiting for, if people are waiting in a stadium and they're waiting for a show, or let's say a music concert is on, if they're not the right audience and you go in with the wrong message, which is the song, there's going to be a mismatch. People are going to throw their drinks or tomatoes at you just because you're playing rock and they're expecting a different genre of music. So if there's a product market match, that also makes it so easy for people to then determine what media do they use to pass that message onto that market. But if you notice, a lot of people start off with the media side of things. They go on and make sure that Facebook is good, their podcast is up and running. You only just started this, but you've been in business how long?
Yeah, 3 or 4 years, and finally getting to this point. Yeah.
Absolutely. Some people want to start with the podcast before they have a full business. Because right now, the people that are going to be listening to this right now are business people that are on their way to just have cash flow simplicity and have financial control and maybe have financial freedom. So you wouldn't be talking anything, or you wouldn't invite people that appeal to 17-year-olds, because that's not your target market. Because everyone is not your customer. So when people realize that, oh, wait a minute, we've fixed up the whole media side of things. And as we were talking earlier on, the media is always changing. You can never get that right. But the one thing that stays constant is your message, and the market is always the same people. They might get older, they might get younger, but it's still the same people that want the same product or service and have the same pain. So it makes it so easy for you to connect with those people. Now, people come to us when they have tried the media, and now they say, wait a minute, this doesn't work. There's no customers out there. And then I'm like, really? Are you sure? All right. So that's how we definitely end up helping people really start from the basics of who they are. What is it that they're actually serving for people, and why should those people care to get it from them? And once that's set, what is the one message that you want to pass on to these people so that they can self-identify and say, yep, that's who Craig is talking about. That's me. Let's go. So a lot of people really get confused because they start with the media.
Yeah, that's such a great takeaway there for anybody sort of listening on that. It's getting your message right, because we've all done it, and I know I've done that in the early stages, and then I sort of went, that's not working, let's take a step back from that and the like as well. But it's so true, and I can see that there's so many people that the message that you've just been very clear on there is, that whole idea that, hey, get your message right first. And ultimately, people that have that challenge where they haven't really got that message, they're having that problem where, they're putting a bit here, a bit there, a bit everywhere, and it's not really landing. Then all of a sudden it's like, cool, somebody like yourself is in the ideal position, because that's what you do day in, day out, help craft that message, and then where do you go from there, and those sorts of things. So that's a great sort of insight there from, somebody watching. I always like to ask the question, because I do talk finances and money and those sorts of things, something that people often talk about is a return on investment. And again, it was another comment that we had a bit of conversation before we got on this call around that idea and notion. But, when you hear that phrase and, people are coming to you, and yes, they always want to pay nothing, but then get great results. And I'm a firm believer it's all about the value proposition. And I know, you've got a very good value proposition there for that. But what's your comments when you hear that phrase, getting a return on investment?
You see, the one thing that people will gravitate towards when they hear return of investment is money, right? But half of the times, yes, you could put in, like I did laugh about this earlier, that I want to make $1 out of every 50 cents. And then you say, no, why don't you make $1 out of every 20 cents, right? But then the thing is, there's also time. A lot of the work that we're putting in there, it's like we're driving a Ferrari with the handbrake on. You could get a return on money, but how about the time that you're expending instead of reaching out, connecting with people? As I said earlier on, none of the things that I do involve the grunt work. It's always out there meeting people, getting known, and creating a personal brand. Right? And a lot of people spend a lot of time face down looking at the work, right? Instead of maybe passing that on to somebody else who's an expert in knowing how to do it cheaper, better, faster. So return of investment for me is, yes, you put in money and at least you get more out, but the time you're putting in, the emotions that are involved in you trying to edit a piece of video that you don't quite know how to do it, whereas somebody is so experienced in doing that, they chop it up in 5 minutes and then they're gone, done and dusted. The emotion that you invest in your business, who is paying you back for that? The time that you're investing in talking to people that do not care about your brand or who are not aligned to your mission, who is paying you back for that? Because time is money. Your emotions, because you're going to be the only person that will, move your business from strength to strength. And if you're going to be knocked down by people that absolutely are not going to be helping you in your business, who is compensating you for that? The emotional stress, that's why so many businesses don't go past the 5-year mark. Pretty much it's because maybe the first year, you're happy that everything is going on. You're still confused and it's just, by hook and crook that you go past it. But maybe second year, third year, you start getting knocked back. You know what I mean? Where are you putting your bank reservoirs for when you need the emotional strength to go on when people tell you no? Because you haven't, banked that. You haven't gotten a return back from, doing work that matters for people who care. So for me, return of investment, money comes a little bit later on. It's nice to have, but if I'm happy, my energy is at peak, my health is at peak, my mindset is at peak, my heart set is at peak. You know what I mean? That to me is the best return of anything that we could ever do. Unless you're paying me for this show, but you're not. It's just the energy that we're expending. We are creating a piece of history that could be revisited by people later on. All right? How do you measure the return of investment on that? Little John right now, who is maybe 3 years old while we're talking, you're probably 21 today, and you're watching this video and you're wondering, how can I also start a business? I'm not going to see that return on investment, but we've put out the energy. We've held the space. So some of the things are not just a return in terms of monetary gain, but the fact that somebody would knock on your door and say, hey, Craig and Prosper, because of you, I did not give up. How do you put a return on investment on that?
I love that so much. It's such a great answer, and on so many levels, and touch upon that. Yeah, I don't know too many people with as much energy as you that you bring to every conversation that we've ever had. And, I get a return on investment for that. And it's just the time that we've invested, it's that whole feeling that you give people. And yes, I do love the financial side of things, but you're exactly right. What's the most valuable asset that people have? And it is their time. and ultimately being able to get some form of return on that, whether it's monetary or otherwise, or the emotional return that you get, it's the health return that you touched upon. Such an awesome response to that. And, you know, I echo those sentiments. And, you know, that's a bit that should be carved up right there, that people will get that snapshot around what does return on investment mean. I think you've nailed it on the head. So I think that's a great way to, in short, wrap up the main part of this conversation. We like to keep it short and sharp on this call here. But, you know, if you are to give one tip to somebody as a takeaway, you've actually labelled so many cool things in our chat. But if we have one sort of last parting comment that you'd want people to sort of take away with them moving forward to help, you know, generating growth in their business, what would it be?
Oh, that's such a loaded question. So did you say we only have 1 hour left in the conversation, right?
Yeah, 1 hour. Time divided by about 60.
Absolutely. My one takeaway that I want people to have is invest in yourself, right? The more you invest in yourself, the more you literally grow, okay? Because it's like a video game. Every level has its own little devils, you know? The bigger you are, the faster the monsters coming for you. So if you're not equipped mentally, physically, emotionally for whatever is going to come your way, look at 2020, for instance. 2020 came in wearing boxing gloves, right? Fires came in, and then people were just like, oh, what just happened? And then COVID came up, you know what I mean? All of those things happened. And then I think there was all the social stuff that's happening around us. Nobody expects that. But if you are strong inside, you're well, you know, you have done your self-education, your self-development, you will weather throughout all of these storms. Right now, we're going to go back to a world that we all haven't seen. We don't know what we're going to be faced, but you know what's going to be the constant? Us, our businesses, our message. So if you've done so much work inside of yourself, you can, you know, literally stand any storm that comes your way.
Yeah, that's such a great takeaway. And, you know, you're the embodiment of that. You know, you've shared the story from the start to where you are now, that you've continually invested in yourself. And look what the outcomes are. You're on here, you're sharing your message across this platform, but also, you know, I know you shared plenty of messages like this across everywhere you go and build that personal brand to be helping people that, yes, they're going to be looking at this for years to come and getting plenty out of that. So really appreciate you joining me on the call today. And obviously, you know, I know there's going to be a lot of people that want to connect with you and, you know, and reach out and say hello. Where's the best place for people to find you, Prosper?
Fantastic. So my job is generally to generate leads. Okay. So a simple Google search of Prosper would definitely get you to find me. But the one thing that makes it easy for you to remember, it's just Livelong and Prosper. So the company that I started is Livelong Digital, or if you just look anything around Livelong, Prosper, Melbourne, it makes it so easy for you to connect with what we are creating. We are always, you know, happy to meet up with people that are on a journey, that are actually doing work that matters for people who care.
Yeah, awesome. And we'll obviously include those details in the show notes, not just the Google search, but the direct links so that people can click through to those as well. And yeah, highly encourage people to check you out, Prosper. So I really appreciate you jumping on the call today. And yeah, we'll no doubt be talking again very soon.
Great. Thank you so much for the platform.
No worries. And for everybody out there, if you want to continue to see great content with awesome guests like Prosper, continue to follow us at theprofitproject.com.au. We'll see you soon. Bye.